If there's one thing we've learned over the years, is that Valve Corporation is unpredictable, and once again it has managed to surprise everyone with its latest announcements. Hey everyone, I am Fxver and today I want to share my thoughts and perspective on the Steam machine, and more specifically on Valve's decision to step into such a unique market, where the major players, Xbox and PlayStation, are struggling with missteps and failed strategies. But before diving into that, I want to set the stage and take a look at the current gaming landscape, because understanding where the industry stands will help us see how Valve's new hardware will shake things up. Microsoft continues its crusade to move away from the traditional concept of Xbox equal console after investing an enormous number of billions in acquiring multiple development studios. The company is now paying the price for what seems to be a serious management problem. Those who have overseen and direct the platform's development have proven inadequate, squandering much of what was achieved during the golden era that followed the Xbox One failures, roughly between 2018 and 2022, when Microsoft introduced the Game Pass beta, full PC integration through Play Anywhere, and customer-friendly pricing policies with incredible promotional offers. Following the release of a mediocre Halo Infinite, a franchise most closely tied to the Xbox brand, things only went downhill. The game arrived after disappointing Halo 4 and Halo 5 titles that already required a drastic internal restructuring years earlier. Then came Redfall and several other big-budget failures. The closure of studios such as Arcane, Tango Gameworks and The Initiative led to a massive layoff and the cancellation of a large portion of the first-party roadmap. All of this was compounded by the controversial Activision acquisition, followed by a Game Pass price restructure and the community backlash. Meanwhile, PlayStation has managed to maintain its position as the main gaming console, but largely thanks to Xbox mistakes rather than its own merits. However, in recent years, the companies attempted to expand beyond the traditional console identity. They quickly realized the PC market offered a huge potential returns, which led to the idea of making PlayStation exclusives time exclusive instead. But an even bigger disaster has been Sony's failed investment in games as a service. They promised 12 titles in 2022, most of them have already been cancelled. Concord was a massive flop, and both Marathon and Destiny 2 continues to struggle under Bungie's management issue. Sony's console-oriented mindset also led to the infamous PSN account requirement for PC titles, which sparked huge backlash from PC players accustomed to a more open and flexible gaming environment. And then we arrive at the completely unnecessary, undersupported and overpriced PS5 Pro, a console nobody at Sony even seems to care about anymore. It was even mentioned in the last State of Play, and in general it offers a no meaningful improvement over the base PS5 in terms of gameplay experience. In this chaos, Valve and then Steam decided to join to the party. Valve's new Steam machine positioned itself as a hybrid console PC. However, on the official website, Valve made one thing very clear. This is a PC first. Valve's Steam machine is optimized for gaming, but it's still your PC. Install your own apps or even another operating system. This highlights their core philosophy, flexibility, control, and catering to a wide PC audience, rather than following the conventional console model. The Steam machine comes with an AMD Zen 4 CPU, 6-core, 12 threads, 30W TDP, and a 4.8 GHz boost clock. Compared to PS5, that's 2 generations ahead, roughly a 30% TPC improvement and additional 35% clock speed increase. Fewer core, yes, but faster ones. The GPU includes a 28 compute unit, 20% fewer than the PS5, but with an RDNA 3 architecture upgrade, has proven to be 5 to 15 more performant at equivalent frequencies, and the GPU sees a 10% frequency increase. On top of that, it's important to note that RDNA 4 or RDNA 3.5 architecture were not used, meaning that technologies like FSR 4 won't be supported, at least at launch. FSR 3 remains inferior to DLSS and XeSS, representing a missed opportunity to push innovation, likely due to cost constraints. For a visual comparison, I made several videos where I put the main upscaling techniques side by side. This clearly shows that FSR3 can't really be considered a meaningful advantage, since it comes at the cost of visual quality. I also didn't like the 4K 60 FPS claim that feels very console-like and almost insulting for a PC audience that's usually much more informed. In practice, this GPU should perform similarly to a desktop RX 7600 or slightly lower on a 76 mobile. That's roughly aligns with RTX 2070 or 2070 Super, a mid-range card that is now 7 years old. The system includes also 16GB of RAM and 8GB of VRAM. Once again, they shouldn't advertise the 4K gaming with that kind of VRAM limitation. I don't think the amount is necessarily too low. In fact, I think it's appropriate for the hardware if it keeps the price within the expectation, but we'll talking about pricing later. The storage options available are 500GB or 2TB, providing flexibility for different user needs. On the Valve strategy, there's a strange coincidence, if you want to call that like this. The components mirror the most common hardware configuration in Steam's top charts, aligning the machine with the majority of players. We find a 16GB of RAM paired with a 6-core CPU and RTX that has, just guess, 28 streaming multiprocessor, basically the same compute unit with 8GB of VRAM. 1080p will be more likely the target resolution for the Steam machine beside the upscaler. This leads us to a second point of reflection. Steam's ecosystem thrives on diversity. Steam, and so the PC gaming, is much more than exclusives or AAA titles. It has a huge user fanbase that plays an incredibly wide variety of games and sees a AAA market as well as porting from the Xbox and PlayStation ecosystem as a minority. These games are only a small part of what its audience cares about. In their showcase video, they highlighted games like Stardew Valley, Cuphead, Bellatro, and other small yet massive hits that don't require the most powerful hardware out there. The intentions are clear. Valve is in the hardware market at this point. After the Steam Deck, this injection of new hardware into the market puts them in a position that can bother Sony, but especially Xbox. Valve, like in a chess match, came out of nowhere and delivered checkmate in 2 moves. They hit the right notes, the right timing, and made the right market analysis, while Sony is busy trying to recover the billions burned on Bungie, and Xbox, between one cancelled titles and another flop, has even been forced to bring Halo Combat Evolved to PlayStation. Yes, Combat Evolved, what the hell does Campaign Evolved even mean? Anyway, another aspect I want to talk about is SteamOS. SteamOS is now making its own way through Microsoft's shortcomings in developing an ideal gaming environment. For years, the most dedicated users have been asking for a gaming optimized environment on Windows, but Microsoft never wanted to listen. Only very recently, with the release of Xbox Rogue Ally, they've taken their first steps in that direction, likely driven by the fear of a competitor in a sector where they never really had a credible rival. Making it clear that their product is a living room PC was a very smart move. They avoid to compete head-on-head in a console war, a war mostly carried by Sony fanboys for 2 decades and the one I personally can't stand anymore. A more complete and multifunctional product compared to a console which works just as well on desk as in the living room. For the living room PC gamer, Steam offers appealing options like free online play and a massive library, huge Steam sales events, Steam profile customization, the community hub, the user reviews system, the points shop, and the 2-hour refund option, an infrastructure refined over the years that has made Steam almost a monopoly in PC gaming. However, we must get to the heart of the matter, the prices. As with any other products, the price will be the deciding factor in determining whether it will be a good product or not. Evaluating the hardware, the design choices, the materials, I believe and hope the prices will be kept as low as possible. We are essentially looking at the Xbox Series S of PCs, the AI bubble, which, like so many other plagues over the last 10 years, is impacting the PC gaming hardware market. Lately, you will also heard about the absurd price increase of memories due to a massive global shortage, which certainly doesn't help. If this global condition hadn't existed, and considering that the base version is sold without a controller, I would have considered a fair price for this machine to be around $450, like 318 euros more or less. However, by parameterizing for the current market, stuck at high prices and with performance that have been stagnant for the last 2 years, I feel that proposing it below $580 or below 500 euros would still make it a valid option for the 512GB and $720 for the 2TB version. But time and official prices announcement will tell us that. For the conclusion, I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with my analysis? What are your expectations for this machine and how do you think it might impact the gaming market overall? If you enjoy my content, please leave a like, subscribe and consider supporting me on Patreon. That's it for today and I'll catch you in the next one.